This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. So lots of us have a therapist. Maybe we go for some counseling. Maybe we work with even a psychiatrist. Just moving our lives forward. Whatever you're dealing with, whether you feel stuck in life, whether it's maybe anxiety, maybe it's depression, PTSD, you got stuff going on. We all do. Let's face it, we all got things going on. But therapy comes in many different shapes and forms, and some that you might not even realize are therapeutic and can help you move your life forward and are actually a lot of fun. We're going to talk with somebody who helps people with that all the time. And she makes it fun. Actually, she's Lindsey Sherwin, and she joins us on the program today. How are you doing?
Hi, Steve. So well. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and talk to you about all this.
So, and likewise, because I'm seeing therapy in through a different lens in learning this from you. Now, you do offer traditional counseling, marriage and family therapy, group counseling, and all of that. Is that right?
Yes. Um, so I'm a mental health counselor, and we're trained in all of the kind of modalities and therapeutic interventions, the same as like any kind of counseling or psychology. Like there's clinical assessments and diagnostics, but I actually started this work many years before I got into my counseling training. So I actually started as a drama therapist, and then later down the line, I realized like I need to learn the foundational elements of counseling and, psychology and really working with people in that capacity. But I started as a creative therapist.
I've heard of art therapy. I've heard of poetry. I've heard of, even performance, dance, that it can be very therapeutic for many. Drama therapy, I wasn't even aware of that. I didn't even know it existed. Is that just what it is, what it sounds like, where somebody is presenting a drama, a play, a production?
So, not quite, but we do use a lot of theater-based interventions and tools to help someone achieve therapeutic outcomes. So there's a lot of different modalities or like ways of doing drama therapy. It's really just um, a creative therapy where someone can actually use theater and theater games to express themselves and learn communication skills and socialize better with people. So it's really a very interactive, embodied art form that is used for therapeutic results.
So I want to dig into art therapy, poetry therapy, and all of that, and some of the others that you offer. But you started talking about drama therapy. It began there for you, but your
Yes.
journey into helping people, rewind even before that. How did this all begin?
Okay, so I started as a professional actor. I was about 10 years old. I was in community theater. Um, I was in different films, and I did like commercial work and print work. I even got into modeling. So I've been, I was published as a model several times, but always had a passion for performance and drama and acting, and realized like I want to help people. I want to do something with that eventually. And so as I kind of got into my academic career, I realized like I want to just study sociology. That was something I was interested in as well. Um, so I went to London and I got a master's in applied sociology. And then I came back to New York and got a job as a youth specialist at a nonprofit organization. And so I was doing that. And I really enjoyed the job. And I met a lot of young people. That was my job, working with young adults. And kind of, it was like coaching. So it was coaching them. And I had a few of them, and I had a good relationship with my clients. And I had a few of them say, like, you should you should be an actor. You should do what you love. You should perform. And so it was like inspiring to me to have people say that I'm working with, that I'm supporting. And so one day I read an article in the New York Times about this field of drama therapy.
Hmm.
And I applied to be trained in it through the alternative program that they offer, that the board, the North American Drama Therapy Association, offers. And I took all the courses and I, completed my clinical hours and became a registered drama therapist. And then I started attending trainings and networking, and I've presented several times with the association. Um, and yeah, I even developed a program like within the places that I've worked, which I'm excited to talk to you about as well, in terms of what you can actually do with this, because it's a very niche field. And as you said, a lot of people haven't heard of it. And so um, that brought me, to the psychology world, the clinical world. Um, but it merged with my art, right? It merged with the way I see the world, the humanistic, person-centered experiences that I want to offer others. And so I just really put those together. And I think a lot of people fall into it that way. They start as artists and then they realize there's a whole profession that they can, attend to and like use it to serve people. And it becomes something you can actually do like as a career.
Do you feel that you started in the performance arena and you wanted to
Mhm.
make a difference in some form, an artistic form? You wanted to, just, touch people, put it that way. And then realize that, yeah, I'm doing that, but I could do that even more if I blend that with therapy.
Yes, you can see things differently within people and their behavior through this particular form. You can ask them to personify their feelings. You
Hmm.
can offer them to sculpt the way they feel or the way they see themselves or other people, their family. Um, and you can talk about that. You can process that. So it's a different way of understanding the issue that you're presenting with. And even like, I think socially, like just what you perceive about the world, you're able to understand what things look like and feel like in your body. That's also a question we often ask. What does that look like to you? Or what does that feel like in your body? And then the client will show that. And sometimes they don't know. And so that gives us a lot of information about what we can do. We really rehearse roles. And a big part of the understanding or foundation of how drama therapy works is that we're all playing a part. We're all playing different roles, and we need to clarify those roles and ensure that they're healthy, because a lot of times we are not always playing a healthy role and we want to change our role. And we have different kinds of roles in our life. We have um, our main role, we have a counter role, and a guide. And this is where the psychological part comes in, because we can understand, kind of like through archetypes, or like if you want to even go like Jungian, right? Like these different sort of psychological theories of like what role are we playing with this person and how can we adjust it to not only make sense of what we're doing, but how we're being with people. It's very, very relational.
Mhm. You know, within the performance arena, I think a lot of people don't realize what comes out of us, when we're allowed to be creative. So can you take us through, let's
Yeah.
say an art therapy session? You're just working with somebody.
Mhm.
What do you,
Yeah.
is it as simple as, here's a medium, could be acrylics, could be watercolor, pen, whatever it might be, and they just
Mhm.
express themselves? How does it all work?
Yeah. So, especially with drama therapy and these other modalities, it's very much focused on the present and the future, versus the past. So, we're really looking at like what is coming up for this person in front of me? Where are they showing? Like, how are they feeling? And like, we can conclude about their past maybe from the image, but it's really just getting to know them. I really think it's organic. Nobody really taught me how to, and this is something else I'm excited to share about in terms of the journey of these modalities, there is no one right way to do this. You can be trained, but I think because art is so multidimensional and it's ever shifting, that there's so much movement. And that's how I've created things. That's how I've created programs and activities and worksheets, because I really just have a sense. So I was never told, like, this is how you do a session. I've been trained in the foundation, of course, of like, these are the elements you should include. This is like how you start, you build rapport, right? You get to know the person, you build trust, and then you create an offering or you make an offer. Why don't we, why don't we put that on the page? And I think what people often like about it is that they can talk first. They can build that trust, which is why it's so imperative to have those skills first. Because I've noticed early on in my journey, when I was just doing drama therapy and I didn't have that other training, that you have to allow people to want to talk first and share what they want to do. You can get specific with different populations. Like I started with teens, like adolescents, and young adults, and like they were happy to just delve in if they didn't want to talk. But when you're working with adults, I think that's a big differentiation. Adults are willing to like talk more and they're open to that. And then they're willing to like, why don't we try this? And so really it's getting to know them, it's getting to understand their themes. And what I do is I do this process called scripting, where like I'll listen to their story and I'll script important words that I hear. And then I'll review them as themes with the client, and then I'll make an offering. Like, do we want to draw this? Or, what's an image that comes up for you that relates to this theme? If they say they want to paint or they want to do something, like I had a client who was really interested. He was like a 24-year-old male and he used to spray paint. And he said, I would love to paint. I haven't done that in like 10 years. I want to do that. I was like, okay, so you enjoy it. I know your story. I've learned a little bit about you. He painted spontaneously. We looked at the themes coming up from what I know about him. I asked him some prompted, intentional questions about what I'm noticing. And it's never, let me ask about this specific thing because I know what that is. It's asking the client, can you tell me what that is? Like, I'm interested in that. Tell me what that means to you. What could that be? Is it that? We're not making meaning yet. We're just sort of getting an idea, and they come to the conclusion themselves. And it's just like, it's externalizing. It's all externalization of what's going on in their inner world. And you can parallel that with drama as well. All of the monologues, all of the roles, all of the phrases, they're all lines, even the lines of an actual script that somebody might learn to perform. That's therapeutic because you're saying something about maybe yourself or about a character, but it could be like who you are. So the basis of it is like externalization and then processing and reflection. So once we see the image, if we're talking about art therapy, we see the image on the page. What is this to you? What could this be? And a lot of people have some wonderful revelations from what they see. They didn't even know what was in them.
Wow. Do you almost feel like a CSI investigator? When you're talking with somebody, you're listening for words, you're taking pieces, you're putting it all together to figure out what's in somebody's headspace and how you can help them.
Yeah, like I think that's a great question because I really do my best. I don't even try. I am conscious of it to tell myself before, not during, because I'm completely present with the person and attuned to their needs and what they're presenting or what they're sharing with me in the moment, but really aware of how they are interacting with the modality and just being with them and sort of not trying to make meaning and practicing what I tell others, which is like, or train when I train others to use expressive therapies. Like, we're not there to make meaning for the client. We're there to offer a tool. And this is my favorite word in this field, offerings, a way to express and externalize what is happening within. Because most people, if not all people, are walking around with, cyclical thoughts. They can be negative. Usually they are negative if they're not training themselves to become positive or saying affirmations. And so these are like the traditional counseling, like, cognitive therapy and like reversing those negative thoughts. And like instead of like focusing more on behaviorism and like how people can change, we're really just looking at what is reality for you. What are you feeling right now? Do you want to keep feeling like this? And not sort of deducing what is happening, but coming to a conclusion of like, okay, I see that person. I see them more clearly like a mirror to myself. Like this person is in front of me. They're a person that's been through a lot of experiences, and I can like assess that and like reflect on that. But like the magic is when they create a piece and they see what's in that piece that reflects a part of their life. That's a key life area that they might want to continue focusing on. And they don't feel like they're being, diagnosed, which is
Right.
a whole other conversation. What we do in this field, a lot of people that work in this field do not believe in diagnosis, or they
It
don't enjoy doing that.
it almost seems twofold where when somebody does some type of art therapy, and again, that could be a creative, that could be art, that could be poetry, that they're purging or letting something out, expressing themselves, but it's also giving you insight into what's going on within them. So it almost seems like it's
Yes.
more impactful than, uh, and there's nothing wrong with traditional counseling, and coaching, and therapy, but it just seems like there's more going on here than regular
Yeah.
sessions.
Right. Yes. And I would say with that, there's more going on the process level and internally with the person so that you're working with. So, for example, if the person is doing a painting, if they're creating an image or a symbol, usually it's some kind of a symbol.
Mm.
Um, all the humanistic psychotherapists and psychologists that contributed this to this work, like Carl Rogers and Natalie Rogers, she created person-centered expressive arts therapy. They're really person-centered. They're very humanistic. They believe like that, we have a concept of self and we can change that through the connection, the therapeutic connection and connection to who we are and our identity, how we see the world. And that gives a lot of choice, right? It's like a very broad, open-ended way of helping somebody work through maybe a ruptured identity or like a disturbed sense of self and make it more congruent, make it more solidified. And so what I mean by process, and there's a lot of breadth and depth in process, is that if they create an image, that can be expressed later and transferred. And this is what intermodal expressive arts talks about, by Sean McNiff. He really was interested in that. He was one of the main pioneers within expressive arts therapy. Creating a movement and translating it into a sound or a poem and then writing a script. And I've really done all of these modalities with various populations. And it's been so fascinating to see what somebody can transform into through the different art modalities and creative forms of expression, and then feel better and then feel like healthy. And we believe creativity is health. I mean, that's sort of this notion that you can be creative and you can get back your imagination, especially if you've been traumatized. And so many have been, or have even small t trauma, like small traumas.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you don't have to have something serious, but you know, anybody can use it.
As we're talking, I think back to my childhood and man, a lot going on there. I got bullied. My
Yeah.
parents got divorced when I was very little, but I would draw cartoons and I wanted to be
Mm,
a syndicated cartoonist. And
mm,
now, as I'm seeing this in a different light, that was my therapy back then.
mm-hmm.
And I didn't even realize it. It was my escape. It was my fun. Like I would just go in the basement and draw, to draw cartoons, um, and I even remember meeting with a psychologist. And what was the first thing they had me do? Draw. And I still I must have been like third grade, not even kidding. And I still
Yeah.
remember what I drew. I was into like army men and stuff like that. And I remember drawing people parachuting out of a plane. Why? I have no idea. Maybe I thought it was cool at the time, but maybe there was also a meaning behind that, maybe symbolism that I didn't even
Mhm.
know. And maybe I gave clues to the psychologist, school psychologist at that time. But I believe we all need to express ourselves. We just don't. Or I'm sure you get this. Somebody
Mhm.
says to you, I'm not artistic. I can't do anything. I can't draw, right? What do you say to them when
Yes.
that comes up?
Well, that's a really classic one. And first of all, I'll say what I say, and then I'll move into something that kind of sparked my interest about my brand um, because of this comment. So, this is not a process. I mean, this is not a product. This is a process, right? We're not doing this to create a product necessarily. It's a process, but it's not your typical process that you feel like you have to be calculated, that we're going to be observing you all the time. It's your own process that you create with me as your co-creator. And we're not here necessarily to create an art product, right? Like a painting that you're going to hang up in the wall,
Yep.
or something that you're going to have to sell and show everybody how wonderful you are as an artist. We are all creators, and I call everyone a creator. And that's actually why my brand is called the Resilient Creator. So I just thought I would add that in because that question that you asked is so relevant to how I view what I do, right? We're all creators. Everybody's a creator in some kind of capacity. And you don't have to be an artist as society calls, or what society says is a traditional artist, like a painter or a poet or a writer or a dancer or a musician. Anybody can do those things, even as a hobby, and still be a creator
Yep.
because we're all expressive. Maybe people don't think we're all creative. Like they might say, I'm not creative, I don't do this, but you're expressive, and anybody can be expressive.
Hmm. It is so true. And there are some that believe that we're here for two reasons: to create and learn, and maybe teach as well. And when you think about it, we are here to create. We created each other. There's a starting
Yeah.
point on that. And I do love that the name of your practice is the Resilient Creator, because that's what we need to build: resiliency. And it comes with creativity, as I'm learning from you today.
Absolutely.
Mm. Um, as we mentioned before, you do offer all other types of therapy and counseling, whether it's relationships, individual counseling, whatever it might be. But kind of the niche here is the creative therapy.
Mhm.
This can be done virtually, right?
Yes, of course.
Very cool. How do we find you?
You can find me at theresilientcreator.com. You can look me up on Instagram, the_resilient_creator. Um, and I'm open to talking to you. You can also send me an email at lindsey@theresilientcreator.com.
Your superpower is you're so easy to talk to.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
it's the truth. Like it's like talking to a friend, and I feel that there's no judgment here. Like we
Yeah,
talk about, I'm not an artist, I can't draw. I don't feel that from you where there's any kind of pressure. It's just like what's coming in your mind. Just write it down. Let's see what it looks like.
yeah.
And that's where the healing begins. Thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.